record on this computer, present, and we'll shrink it. All right, good to go, Brad. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming. We have Brad with Global Marketing from PlayStation, who has graced our presence. He's been so kind to show up and talk about his career at PlayStation. Let him take it away. I'm not going to steal the show. So.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? All right. Hey, thanks for coming out. Hey, there on the Zoom. Yes. So just for a little background, just so those of you know how I even got here. A friend of mine, I live in San Carlos, down in the peninsula. And a friend of mine from the neighborhood, by day he works for Intel, but he has a side hustle. He teaches an introduction to marketing class at San Jose State. And so I do these kind of things. He brings in friends and colleagues of his to come and speak in front of his classes. And so Elizabeth, she was in one of those classes a number of years ago. I'm not sure when, but I've been doing it for a guy, Rick Reed, for about 4 years now. And anyway, so she told me about your organization here, and yeah, invited me to come up, and I'm fired up to do it. As I was telling Elizabeth before we came up, this is my first time speaking in front of anybody in about a year and a half. So I'm really excited to do this. So if I'm a little rusty, apologies. I'm going to keep going in and out of the camera just so you all know. So here's how I like to do these things. You know, I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint, right? I think they're kind of boring. So that said, I do have some boring slides to go through with you, but it's only a couple of them. I just want to give you a little bit of a understanding of my background, just about me a little personally, and then some of the roles that I've had in marketing over a range of companies over the past, past however many years. And I really like to have you all drive the conversation. I prefer to make these interactive because I don't even pretend to, I don't know when you have you, and I don't pretend to think that I'm interesting enough to just ramble for an hour. So I really prefer making these interactive and more of a Q&A type experience. So when I'm done going through these boring slides, then feel free to ask me whatever you want. If I know the answer, I'll give it to you. If it's an opinion, I'll give you that too. Anything involving marketing or business or connections or job search or anything that you all want to cover, I'm happy to do it. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Good. All right. Let's do this. Okay, so you see my name there. Sorry, I need my glasses. Okay, so here's just a little bit about me. So I'm from Texas. Please do not hold that against me. That's where I'm from. I grew up in Houston, went to college in San Antonio, and lived in Austin for a couple of years before I moved to the Bay Area. So I was a double major. I majored in business with a focus in marketing and also in communications. I've been out here since '97, and you see I've worked for a whole range of companies, large companies, like PlayStation, Cisco, small companies which you've never heard of. I've been some .coms that that went nowhere, and I've also been on the agency side as well. There's a big difference between marketing for a company and then working for an agency that serves the company. And again, currently I'm a GM of global marketing for Sony PlayStation, and not here on the slide, but I'm a family guy, been married 23 years. I have 2 daughters. One of them, she's a junior, actually, the other side of the city over at SF State, and then my youngest just started her first year at University of Oregon in Eugene. So that's that. Okay, so here's one of the first things I did. So I started off actually as an intern. I was in college working for the San Antonio Spurs. I was in their TV and broadcasting department. That was my first love. That was initially what I wanted to do. I was on the college radio station. I did TV sports. I was the play-by-play guy for my college team, and that's where I was going to go. But then I had the sort of fork in the road career-wise of what to do. So didn't do it, but being in the background, got a first exposure to advertising. And then obviously it's a big consumer play, selling tickets, selling merchandise, that kind of thing. So that was really my first immersive experience into marketing and actually working at a professional level, just, getting out of the classroom and seeing how they do it in the real world. My first big job out of college, I worked for Motorola for a number of years. So that's more of a B2B play. There's a little bit of consumer because they used to do a wide range of products. Motorola is not really what it used to be. But there I was in channel marketing. So basically I was responsible for helping drive Motorola software products to our customers, some at a B2B level, some directly to consumers at a smaller level. So that got me my first taste into advertising, which is now totally outdated since at that time that was all print, right? Which I know a lot of people don't do anymore. That also got me introduced to marketing communications, and that's one big thing I'll just say right now that I recommend. Obviously, it's great to specialize in something, but as marketing strategies are more integrated. You don't just do one thing, but you have a tactics mix of things that you do. So I'm a big believer in integrating your marketing plans. That's where I started to learn that. Also did events, big trade shows. That's where I met my wife in Vegas. It was supposed to be sorted, and now that was 95, and so here we are. And then also that was my first introduction to strategy, not just executing tactics. Okay, did that run? Boom, check it off the list and move on. But actually thinking about the strategy in the short term and the long term, and how that meets your long range marketing and sales goals. Okay, so this is the agency experience I was talking about. So this is when I moved out to the Bay Area, and that's how I got the job. I was at Motorola in Texas, and they were our agency. So this type of agency, they're PR agencies that they have different focuses. What theirs was, you're a large company, you go to them and say, hey, we want to do this. Can you help us with it? And they help you with your strategy, deal with the vendor management, those kind of things. So for this project, I was the account manager for Disney. That thing's not there, but the shell still is. It's down in the kids area of both Disney in LA and in Orlando. Basically, what the concept was is whatever the new Disney film that was going to be out, you theme it out with with the appropriate characters and branding. Then Bug's Life is done, and they bring in Ants or whatever the next movie is. Then they redo it and use the same basic structure. So that was my first real introduction into branding. Someone like Disney, like PlayStation, definitely Apple, and the very branding heavy companies. But that's really how they develop their identity, and it's a really important thing to have. No matter what, you don't get a flashy company like PlayStation. To have branding, it's important no matter what. And again, a big part of the marketing strategy right there. When you look, holistically at everything that they're trying to do, that's really important. How are people online doing? I feel like I'm batting around a little bit. Are they good as far as you know? Okay. So this is a short one here. So this was kind of my first entry into just pure consumer products. So TiVo, I think they're kind of around, but now just DVRs come with your cable. I was just a contractor for that, but it was just events. But again, it was that direct to consumer piece and not kind of long lead B2B type marketing. But that's direct. Go to Best Buy and walk out with a TiVo. All right, Cisco. So I was here for a while. I was here for about a decade or so. I had two different roles there. First part was B2B. I was responsible for partner marketing. You can't go into a Walmart and get Cisco stuff, right? It's a B2B play, minimum orders, $500,000, that sort of thing. So I was responsible for developing programs, working with sales to drive that sales pipeline to get people to buy via Sony products, or I'm sorry, Cisco products. That came from work, so I still Sony on the brain. So sales enablement, so that's the one kind of takeaway I learned from that. I found a lot of companies, you really need to have synergy between marketing and sales, and there's kind of a natural adversarial relationship between the two. I mean, I can deal with it at PlayStation. I'll talk more about that in a minute. I'm so sorry. I'm boiling. This thing's bugging. Sorry, but anyway, yeah. So that's a really important thing. Salespeople, when things go well, sales do a great job. Something doesn't do so well, and marketing screwed it up. Right? That's typically the thing. Also, marketing deal with salespeople. I'm like, oh, you're just selling boxes. You you guys know value in this. We're the creative ones. We're the ones telling stories. We're the ones doing all this work. You're just kind of sweeping in and getting the credit. Actually, but in the real world, they really should. You can accomplish a whole lot when both sides get along. And again, did a lot of Marcom from that as well, both with the partner marketing, and then I focused on internal for a little bit. It's not as much fun, but with a company like Cisco, which is around 120,000 people at any given time, that's a pretty big audience right there to even do your marketing. All right, so now for the fun stuff. Anyway, so here's where I'm at right now. PlayStation, shameless plug right there. All right. So obviously heavy consumer piece. I've had two roles there. I've been there about 4 years now. The first couple of years I was there, I ran retail marketing for Latin America. So I was responsible for all of the retailers, both physically as well as online, making sure that there was brand consistency with the PlayStation brand. That didn't matter where you walk into because they have Best Buys down there too. You went to Best Buy in Mexico, it looks the same as one in Des Moines, Iowa, right? It's so Sony's a global brand, and so it was a lot of traveling to LATAM, going to malls and stores and that kind of thing. And that was a lot of fun. But that was the first part of it. And now the second part, going back to the sales enablement piece. So I'm a GM in global marketing. Basically what global means, and that's part of the brand consistency piece. Sony was noticing that when you went to different countries, some things would look a little off. Instead of like the PlayStation blue, you would maybe see red, which is Nintendo's colors. So that's even doubly bad. And so what I do is I sit in global marketing, but I'm a link between marketing and sales. So what does that mean? I have visibility into all the budget and all the strategies and all the tactics for the United States and Canada from a marketing perspective. And in turn, I sit with the salespeople to ensure that their sales goals are being met by the marketing tactics. So for instance, there's what's coming out. There's a game called GT7 that's coming out next year. Pre-order is a little low for it. So then that's, where I facilitate the conversation. Oh, maybe we need to put some more marketing dollars into this to help drive the pre-orders. And it's that kind of thing that I deal with on a daily basis. And there's, it's not just the console, but it's games, it's controllers, it's chargers, it's all our partnerships, it's the online store, it's all those kind of things. So I have oversight into all that, and then staying in lockstep with sales to make sure that we're helping them meet their sales goals. All right, so that's it in a nutshell. I'll leave. Yeah, that slide's too boring. All right, I'll end with that one. I've been seeing a lot of people have been hitting me up on LinkedIn already, which is cool. But I'll end with that one. All right, so that's the end of the boring part. Crap, 15 minutes. It was a little longer than I wanted. Anyway, sorry about the long part. Now I'd like to open it up to those of you online or anybody else that's here. Ask me anything. Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'm kind of curious about, you mentioned trade shows like throughout this whole thing. How's COVID affecting that whole?
I'm sorry, how's COVID affecting what?
The trade shows.
Oh, we have,
yeah. And then I'm just, I kind of like to hear what you think, the future holds for promotion in that way, because I know like E3, that will always like the thing.
Right. Yeah. The events team really got hammered on the COVID part. Nothing happened last year. Nothing's on the schedule right now. It really influenced the launch it's been about a year already. We were on total lockdown from everything because PlayStation didn't want to do anything out in the open that would cause people to gather, no midnight sales, none of that, because they don't want, 200 people sitting outside of the Best Buy. Someone grabs a picture of it, 200 people are there, 50 come back with COVID, 3 of them dead. Oh, wait, they're a PlayStation, right? And that's just, we didn't want to do that to our customers or just humans in general. And then from looking at it from a PR perspective, we just wanted no part of that. As far as future goes, because we're actually our fiscal year is April to April. And believe it or not, right now we're starting to look at next year, fiscal year, FY22, which begins next April. Already starting to look at that, and right now it's still a not committing to anything model as far as live events, launch events. We have some big games coming out over the next little while. A game called Horizon Forbidden West is coming out the first quarter of next year. New God of War, things like that. Normally we go all out with what they call out of home placements. You'll see things like a mall or a shopping center, things like that. For the last God of War that came out in 2018, we had people out there doing face paints and generating a lot of that social media buzz and that kind of thing. Right now, none of that stuff is on the table for the time being. So it's definitely very, very limiting for a consumer brand, especially something like PlayStation, which is so visible right now, which is our hands are tied for the time being. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Anna. I'm doing my first year MBA here at the University of San Francisco. And I wanted to ask you, you've been working for companies such as Cisco or PlayStation that in the marketing field. And I was wondering if you had to acquire more technical skills along the way in order to be working for these type of companies.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes and no. I'm ready. I'll ask those. Yeah, it's the intro to marketing. So are all of y'all grad students? Is that the audience?
Yes.
Okay, that's really cool. It helps, but it's not necessary. I think that's one of the, at least it's how I've sort of faked my way through some of my career is you have to just know enough. And you have to be able to clearly articulate super technical jargon. But how do you make it resonate for the decision makers? Whether that's someone at home, you don't go under the hood of the PlayStation and explain all the technical stuff. Something like Cisco, you're not just dealing with engineers, you're dealing with finance people, you're dealing with executives. So really, you need to be able to clearly articulate, but in simple layman's terms. I've never really taken any sort of engineering training or anything like that. But when you do, either whether you're interviewing somewhere or you get the job, read up on as much of that stuff as you can. But I find it's not limiting career-wise at all. And actually, it's just been my experience with a lot of people. Sometimes, especially like company like Cisco, I saw it all the time. You have people that are so technical and they're so good at it, but there's really nothing to do with them. So you promote them up into marketing roles. They don't know crap about it, So actually, having a super technical degree isn't as necessary in a marketing type role. But you do need to be able to distill messages. You need to be able to boil things down based on the audience you're going for, whether it's consumer or an executive. Whatever your audiences may be, but it's more about storytelling and crafting that message. Okay, I'm ignoring this side here. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Pala. I'm from the MSMI batch here at USF. My question is regarding your transition from the marketing communication to marketing strategy. How did that happen? Because the reason I ask is I was also in marketing communication with previous group, and it was difficult to change streams. So, from the agency to the corporate side.
Right.
And, I faced little roadblocks where to get into platform marketing. And I had taken detour and I took international business to get into more business side of things.
Yep.
But how would you say and how would you recommend to go ahead if you want to go into something more on the thinking side of business?
Sure. That was something I know. I had that epiphany. I'm sure if you've seen me here. I had that epiphany a little ways into it. For a while, I was just events, and I felt kind of like, oh man, I sort of boxed myself into a particular areas. There's so many different areas of marketing you can get into. A lot of it. I was fortunate enough to I think this is really the way a lot of things work. You know, I talk about the value of connections and looking for a job, but you know, I find it's really helpful you speak up to, you know, those, you know, that are more experienced than you. And I was just kind of taught things as I went. I just sort of learned by you know, just osmosis and just being around, you know, was kind of taught in bits and pieces, like, yeah, fine, you can execute on that, but this is what strategy looks like. I didn't, you know, take any classes per se. You know, so I don't have the, you know, the education training that y'all are going to walk out of here with, which is really, really cool. So you probably a step ahead of where I was, but for me, it's been all about, you know, on the job training, networking, and if there's an area that you like, really have interest in, always ask for stretch assignments, and that's kind of how I got into the strategy piece. It started with the agency, because yeah, like I said, I was with Motorola, and they noticed me on an execution side, like, oh, cool, we give something to Langford here, and he'll go get it done. And then, you know, we start talking, and you know, you're in enough meetings, and then, you know, it helps to have kind of an intellectual curiosity. And finally, you ask, like this guy John Sample, who's the president of this agency, like, how'd you come up with that? And he's like, oh, well, and he, you know, sat me down and walked through it, and then just the more you do it, and contribute in that kind of way, I think then you pick up on that kind of thing. So that was my transition. It's not the only way to do it, obviously, but that's how I pulled it off.
We can take some questions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Zoom, they have their hands raised.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Manu, do you want to go? I know, but.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Guys, you can ask questions.
So hi, I wanted to ask
I think the volume.
questions regarding.
Just hold on.
Something coming in on here on the chat.
Yeah, you can ask.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you an interesting question regarding the.
No, wait.
Can you
Oh, no.
Oh, okay,
can't
so I
either
need to
do
mute
that.
it from here.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yes.
So what is this regarding the unavailability of PS5? It's been a year since it has been launched, and people are still struggling to, get a hold of PS5. Plus, the prices are also high according to what it was launched. Like, I think it was launched for around $500, but people are now buying it at, say, more than $800. So what's the reason behind it?
The reason behind. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. So what's the reason behind the price point or the?
Just in general, why is there a shortage? I mean, probably COVID. We don't know. We're just trying to find out.
So she has two-part question. One is why is there a shortage, and second thing, why are the prices going high?
Okay, got it. Okay, so the shortage. So going to shortage.
Sorry.
Sorry, good. Okay, yes. So as far as the shortage goes, that's something that's plaguing the entire tech industry. Well, two different things. One, I don't know if you're familiar with this whole supply chain issue. There are all these boats, they're stuck off of Oakland and off of LA and those kind of things. And it's a legit problem, even as you make product, getting it, from Asia over globally when you're transporting it, by ship. So that's just any product. As far as the chips themselves, there's a chip shortage. A lot of these come from China, and it was about 6 months ago, came from the Chinese government. They just said, hey, half the chips that are made, they are devoted to the auto industry, period. So everybody else, Apple, and there are chips in everything now, right? So now half the chips are being allocated for everything else. So right now, Sony, Xbox is going through the same thing. There's just a chip shortage out there. So it just plagues the entire industry. As we make stuff, you still can't find one in the stores at this point. They just go straight to the retailers. pro tip, check out Walmart.com. They tend to get them first. If anybody cares, if you didn't hear that here.
Okay.
And so there's that. But as far as the prices going up, that's not a PlayStation related thing. That's same, that's a scalper thing and on the black market. That's something that we have a whole team that goes to stamp that stuff out, especially if it's on Amazon and one of their authorized resellers. We don't allow that as PlayStation, so we try to stomp that out. But when stuff gets on eBay and things like that, we don't have as much control over it. It's a little bit of an issue here. It's a huge issue in Latin America, where I used to focus. So no, it's PlayStation's not gouging past the price point where they set it. And yeah, they set it a little high initially because the hardcore gamer early adopters, it's like any product. You get a new iPhone, you pay the most for it, then as it's out, it goes down a little bit. But Sony's not intentionally scalping their own product.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I have another question on Zoom.
Oh, okay, so we can take it back.
Can you read that?
Yeah.
Okay, Manu, you can go.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Double. Oh, no, it works. Very nice to meet you, Brad. My name is Manu. I'm from Austria, and first of all, I want to say a big thank you because you have basically saved my, let's say, COVID time and the COVID time of my friends, because I think all of us have become wannabe pro gamers over the course of COVID. My question is, especially with games like Call of Duty, for example, where there's this availability now to have cross-platform gaming. Is that a thing that maybe for, let's say, I've heard many people go from console now to PC because there's cross-platform. And I mean, for Call of Duty, as an example, now it's easier to make movements and hand-eye coordination, everything. Is there a thing or a marketing idea for the future to communicate that? I mean, of course, you want to be more competitive than Xbox and PC, but to have a specific idea on how to communicate that this is the best example for cross-platform gaming?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Hey, thanks for the question, man. That's nice meeting you. The games come through all sorts of different ways, and there's a marketing strategy for all of them. There's cross-platform games that are made third-party. Your Call of Duty, still like Fortnite, which you can play on anything. And then Microsoft has Halo, which is coming out I think this month, and PlayStation has its own IP. That's a big part of both. I'll even speak for Xbox on this. The exclusivity is a big thing, and that's really key for anything you're marketing, is to find a differentiator in whatever product or service or whatever it is that you're trying to market and sell. What is that differentiator to your end consumer? And so applying that to video games, PlayStation has its own IP, stuff like God of War, The Last of Us, Horizon, things like that. And we sticker it all over the place, and it's in our digital ads, in our TV ads, only on PlayStation, things like that. So from a software perspective, that's a lot of the strategy behind how we market things, is the exclusivity. You can only get it here. And also then we try sweetening it. You can get all the apps, you can watch Netflix and all that kind of stuff through your PlayStation as well. And that's going to be pretty common, but it's so strategically, the thing to point out is that while you're tethered, to your house or wherever, that's the one thing, is that the mobile aspect of it. But as far as at-home entertainment, PlayStation's the way to go, because you get this, and this, and you really lean on the things that are exclusive to you, and that's applicable to anything that you want to market.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, you're staring at me, making
Yes.
me nervous. I'm just kidding.
So back when there was the launch of PS4, so we had like in a quick succession, we had PS4, PS4 Slim, and PS4 Pro.
Yes.
So how did you manage the marketing for all these three products? Because they are very similar in what they offer.
Mhm.
But since they are like three different kind of products, so what was the unique selling point of those products, and how was the sales like, whether PS4 was good in sales where PS4 Pro was not doing good? So how was that, and how did you tackle that situation as well?
Yeah, actually, I wasn't there for that. I've been there 4 years. That was before my time a bit. But just having the background on it, they found pretty quickly, as these games get bigger and bigger, you need more space on the
Yeah.
system to do it. And in some cases, Apple goes through this a lot. A lot of companies do this. Even with, well, that's cool about apps. You see on your phone, someone's a software update, you click it and it's done. It's a lot harder to do that from a hardware perspective. So that was kind of the reasoning behind that. It's like, well, do we do PS5 now, or do we have that kind of project to bridge the gap
Okay.
to get to PS5? So how do you market it? Because you run the risk of pissing off the people that bought the PS4 Slim. So how do you make that more palatable? So that's why knowing your audience is really important there.
Got it.
So really the Slim, your audience there is just kind of your everyday gamer, your mass gamer. It's a lower price point. And so from a strategy perspective, you focus on that. For the Pro, that's what they call it Pro. It's like, these are for the hardcore types. You get double this and slightly faster that and all that.
Provided 4K PS4 Pro, right?
Yeah.
So basically the concept was like when the PS4 was launched and everything. So basically it had two fans inside it. So the PS4 was getting too much warm and hot itself. So this is why they came up with PS4 Slim, which had one TV in it, and they were also made it slim because of they just added one fan. And when it came to PS4 Pro, they also added 4K features where it was having where you can play it in 4K. So the other PS4 and PS4 Slim didn't have 4K. So PS4, like especially with 4K and everything, that is why the second point came, because most of the pro gamers wanted to game at PS4 like Pro, because either you can play the games of Call of Duty or FIFA, and so that is why they came up with PS4 Pro.
Got it.
So here's your resume.
So I have a follow-up question on that. So I also need, I'm curious to understand the mindset behind with the PS5 digital version and the PS5, the CD plus digital version. So how was that?
Sure. So the logic behind that, well, you saw it first with the music market. Everybody's buying CDs, and then Napster came in, totally disrupted everything. And so then you have iTunes, now you have streaming services and those kind of things. Yeah, I mean, they don't even sell CDs in a lot of places right now. Seeing that with movies, I used to buy DVDs like crazy. I can't remember the last time I bought one. You just go streaming off the umpteen different apps that are out there. Video games are heading that way,
Right.
and so I see it with the data that we get, both from a purchase intent and a brand awareness perspective, but just the sales with every title that comes out, the percentage of people that go online to get it directly from PlayStation 4 versus go to a traditional retailer or Amazon to have the Blu-ray delivered. COVID has really sped that up. Kind of feeding off your initial question, was COVID done to the industry? We had a really successful launch, and engagement was up, and while it's dipped a little bit, it's still at a pretty good level. We're just finding that people like downloading the stuff.
Yeah.
Just these files are so huge and all that and I think also just the mindset, it helps to again from a strategic point of view, knowing your audience. Most music listeners are fairly casual. That's why such a small segment is like still in the vinyl. Same with movies, but the video gamers is a little different, where they do that's why we make these special editions, where you get toys and things like that. And so you market towards them, but we're finding that for the masses, though, they just like the relative convenience of downloading stuff directly. So that's why, from a marketing perspective, we're doing much more online, much more through the online store, and again, retail's gone down the tubes as far as COVID goes. So that's why we make two of them. Also kind of testing the waters, and they're selling really well.
Yeah.
And even those that get the one where you have the disk drive in it, we find predominantly the people are buying the online versions.
Got it.
I guess kind of piggybacking on that. So how does that change launch events? I keep going back to E3 experience.
I think, well, once COVID is more under control, or then there will always be the space for a big event or splash for anything, regardless of how you buy it. That's all part of building buzz and purchase intent and brand awareness. So that'll never go away, regardless of how you play the games, especially for for a company like Sony, or you get when like movies in a movie theater, they'll still do it even if you go stream it on HBO Max or whatever. So that part of it isn't going away. Now, in terms of traditional like conferences, we set up booths and that kind of thing. I think that may taper off a bit, but as far as the big, big showcase launch events, midnight sales, that kind of thing, that'll never go away because, and this isn't just PlayStation, but a lot of companies, Apple does this. They're all about building community. And it does help drive that buzz. When you're on like University Avenue in Palo Alto, there's just throng of people out there waiting to get the eye whatever. It's really a powerful thing, and that's kind of you can make viral, and that can also really help drive your marketing plan as well.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
So about the recent release of Metaverse, do you think it will have an effect on how people play video games and stuff, or like what's your marketing opinions towards?
Oh, that Facebook thing?
Yeah.
God. Yeah, that's interesting. I think there will be some sort of shift. Again, this is purely the opinion. I'm just riffing here. And I will get to your answer. I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit to give some context into what I think I'm going to say. So it was about 2.5 years ago, I was in Mexico, and Google was, trying to enter the video game market, something called Stadia. And, and anybody can stage a flashy intro video and press conference, stuff like that. I remember sitting there in our office in Mexico City, watching their launch event. And, again, so from a strategy, what's the value add to the customer? And they told a really compelling story of, hey, you can be, on your PC here, pause the game, hop on Caltrain, you can play it on your mobile device, and then go somewhere else, and you can play with other people. I remember sitting there like, oh shit, we're finished. If this thing really works, and because mobile gaming is huge, and that's something the PlayStation should be getting more into as well. But since then, it's just been a big dumpster fire up to this point. Not saying that we can't turn it around, but no one talks about Stadia. However, Netflix is now starting to get into it. Apple has their arcade. So now we have Facebook. Well, I know they have a whole VR AI division as well. I wouldn't count them out. Well, same with Microsoft. When they got in the biz, at least my perception, obviously I'm a little older than y'all, and so my impression of Microsoft, are the ones that make the crappy software that's really buggy. How are they going to make something that caters to a really intense, passionate audience? Yet, they certainly did it. There will be more competitors in the space. How that plays out, I think, is how well they execute on it. There is a wider pond for this kind of thing. That's why Sony wants to get a little more into the mobile gaming side, because there's a lot of untapped customers and untapped revenue there. Again, eventually getting to your Facebook answer. I wouldn't count them out. I think it says a lot that all these different big companies are going to do it. A drawback, and one of the more cynical side of me, when you're a company as huge as Google or Facebook, you can throw billions of dollars at something. It doesn't work. Yeah, all right, we're gonna ditch it. I think just this week Facebook got rid of their face recognition. They purged 1 billion accounts of whatever their face tracking thing. And that's just, they have the luxury of doing that because they're sitting on these piles of cash. That they certainly have that brand equity. On everybody knows Facebook, and what are they doing in gaming? It'll definitely skew more towards the casual gamer and person that's just gonna be playing it, in between classes, waiting for a doctor's appointment, that kind of thing. I definitely I'll be curious to see what they do, because it's definitely going in different directions. It's not just sitting there popping a disc into a box and hanging out for a few hours. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, same thing. Everyone says, thank you for coming. I wanted to ask the question we all want to ask is, since you manage so many people and so many moving parts in your operation,
Right.
What are you looking for in your people? And like, what would you say to all of us who may want to go work at PlayStation one day or work at Sony? And like, what we're trying to get into that kind of space.
Right,
You
right.
know, what skills do you look for in your team? Is it just like the passion, obviously Tanish got it, but or the skill set.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the type of company you work for. I was with Cisco a long time, and it was a really good company. I did really well there, and I enjoyed it to a degree. However, you're not, people don't have Cisco tattoos.
As a PlayStation.
Yeah. And so, no, and I was really fortunate, and again, I think I mentioned this earlier, and I did this in Dr. Reed's class. And I tell this to anybody I talk to, man, the power of networking is and connections is just as valuable as anything you're going to walk out of here with, even with an advanced degree. And while it's great having your head and it looks great on a resume, that'll get you through the door as far as some HR screener, looking through resumes and look at the applicable skill sets based on the level of hire that they're trying to make. So since you all be early in career, certainly having an advanced degree like this helps. The other thing, as I was talking about when I worked with the Spurs, any kind of internship or or even just job period looks really good. It just shows real world experience, because you just can't. That's why I remember I was on the fence about going for an MBA when I was with Motorola, and ultimately I was just kind of burned out from school by the time I was done from it. And then Motorola took off, and then went from there. But I always look back like, that would have been really cool to have. That will definitely bump your resume up to the top of, the HR person. As far as what I look for, again, it depends on the role, depends on the type of company. Obviously, someone like PlayStation, I want someone that knows about fans. Good Lord, like actual, that's great. And not a lot of people know that kind of granularity. It's like, oh, you know the games and stuff. So stuff like that's really cool. By the time a resume hits my desk, HR has already vetted it, so I know the least skill set on paper. They would have spoken with you. It's like, okay, they passed that. So while in an interview situation, I would ask some direct work questions. I'm more about fit. I'm not sure if in your studies you all talk about company culture and things like that. I know it's kind of a buzzword. Are y'all dealing with that? Yeah, it's not some bullshit, just business term. It actually is a legit thing, because I've been in companies with lousy culture. I didn't put any of them in the slide, but if you can wreck an organization, it just takes, just like it's like a sports team. It takes one athlete, to just kind of sink the whole thing. So a lot of I look for just for fit. How do we click? What's the personality seem like? And I know that's hard to do in a half hour or hour interview, but that's why you also increase the interview pool. It wouldn't just be dealing with me, but talking to other people. But a lot of it, I go for fit, because if whatever's on the paper, if it got to me, then you're obviously talented enough to get into the room. But definitely networking, do internships or a job, and then also just be yourself. I've seen where people are like, oh yeah, I'm really passionate about Cisco. It's like, oh, come on, man, you don't have to. What about the job itself? You like telling stories, that kind of, that's more the sort of thing. The other trick I do, that I've always done when I interview for a role, I boil down what I think are my, 3, maybe 5 strongest points, biggest examples of, my accomplishments or how I've added value or been successful. No matter what the question is, in PR, they call it spin. No matter what they ask you, give them that answer. Politicians are the best at doing this, right? Really know yourself and what you feel your skill sets are. When you get in that interview situation, try to tie everything back to those areas to show where you're at, where you're successful. So go ahead, man.
I'm sorry, Brad. So my name is Ram, and I'm from the MSMI program. So I have a question. So my background is in SEO, branding, and PR. I work for Vision London. So I'm not looking to get into transition into marketing analytics, and legislation not be a bad place to work. The question is, I haven't used any PlayStation before, all the video games are playing having on PCs. So would that be a huge disadvantage, say if I'm applying for PlayStation?
Oh, no, not at all. Well, first off, gaming's gaming, tech is tech. That's, well, first off, that's the point about marketing. It doesn't matter if you're marketing detergent or games or whatever, you still have the core things that you're learning and concepts and tactics and strategies, things like that. It's applicable anywhere. So that's why to get back, you might have a question, how technical do you have to be? And you really don't. I could leave PlayStation tomorrow and go, work for Jack in the Box or something like that. And I still have transferable skills with that. Now, it certainly helps, well, out here, just any kind of tech helps because structurally, a lot of that is the same. Basically consumer tech is all kind of the same. You just, message it differently based on on your target audience. Okay, yeah, in the back.
I'm Ash. I'm studying first year USF MBA program. My question is something related to what you already asked, where you said you have a team where you're trying to find an intern who culturally and structurally fits into the team. I wanted to know if someone who's wanting to pivot, and I see there are a lot of intern positions available at PlayStation. So it's a two-type question. The first one being that do you see any kind of diversity when there's for example, a brand management position or intern available? Only the students basically who have had experience in that arena can apply, or you look at diversity between two backgrounds. And second is if you're taking up interns, what is the conversion ratio, or how many interns you eventually pick up for a role in that?
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I think I got most of that. I hate these masks, but I know we got that one. I couldn't completely understand everything, but whatever. I think I got that. First, how do you get into an internship at PlayStation, and then when you do, what's the conversion rate to a full timer? Honestly, it's harder to get an internship than a job at PlayStation. But they're certainly out there, and that's parting words. I'll leave you all. You have my link, or I'll flash my LinkedIn stuff. And I've actually helped people get internships there, so that there's a whole process there. Conversion rate is huge for it. Actually, I worked with a bunch of people that even went there and then when got their MBA and then came back. So internships are really a prized tool for any size company. It's that kind of try before you buy it, as opposed to marrying someone on the first date, which is what a lot of interviews can be, right? But yeah, when you have experience and you're used to somebody, it's like, oh yeah, I'll say Marcus, because that's a buddy of mine, he interned for 2 consecutive summers, and then boom, had a job in brand marketing, waiting for him when he was done in college. So the convert, and it's like that with a lot of companies. We find certainly your Facebooks and Twitters and all that. If you can get in there at an internship level and you do well, then you are recognized. You're flagging the system as, oh, this person knows their stuff, and it's
But the first part with regards to diversity, so if someone's applying for a particular role and they don't have experience in that, is that person considered, or you should apply to the skill sets that you've already had experience in? Because there are a lot of positions available. There might be something that interests you. So
yeah, if you don't have a direct connection, and it does help to obviously you'll tailor your resume to whatever it is that you're applying for, and this just goes for any marketing internship. Typically just because jobs are so competitive out here, especially for the cool companies, that you show how you fit into a certain role. Now it's easier once you're in to then do stretch assignments, and for instance, retail marketing's like, I haven't done it before, but again, I knew a guy and got in that way. But you can't always count on that. So stick with your skill set, particularly early in your career. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, you've been into different kinds of positions and then into global marketing. So I just want to understand, how does the marketing segmentation targeting change when you're in the internal marketing or marketing communication versus global marketing? And adding on, which area was the most difficult for you to tap as a global market, or which is the most difficult area for PlayStation to tap as a global market?
Yes, global marketing, that's also a buzzword. I'm not, is that a buzzword in school right now?
Yeah.
Globalization.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a subject called as global marketing.
Yeah, we have a
Business
subject
strategy.
where.
Oh, God. Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I saw some eye rolls. That's why I wasn't sure. Yeah, it is a buzzword, but that's my daughter in Oregon, here in Flusher. So, yeah, globalization, it's a tricky thing. It certainly bounds for a consumer facing company. Obviously, I'm coming out from a PlayStation point of view, but everybody has it. But this is my take on it. I'm really curious what you know, what you all are being taught, but just at least from my real world experience with it. The positives to it are it helps with brand consistency, with message consistency. So again, you know, the analogy I use, you know, or like even like McDonald's, right? You go to McDonald's in Moscow, it's the same as one in Beijing, the same as one in Kansas City, right? And so that's a big part of it. It also, globalization helps operationalize your you know, your product. So the people in charge of, you know, whether it's operations or product development, you're looking at things from a global perspective, and it helps with product allocation, things like that. Where I don't like it, and Sony's definitely struggled with it, these kind of things, you know, as a pendulum back and forth, is, you know, part of what you should be doing as a marketeer is, I hate that word, I can't believe I've used it, as a marketing professional. Certainly if you're focused on different territories like I was with LATAM and now, you know, US, Canada, you need to be able to incorporate that local flavor based on your market, because every country's different. You know, for instance, like you were asking about the digital only version of PlayStation. Yeah, it's great, you know, to promote it here because, you know, a majority of the United States has good internet connectivity. We aren't even selling them in most areas of LATAM right now because it's a poor country. Tons of rural areas with lousy internet access, and so, you know, no one's gonna buy a, you know, $400 system to wait 7 hours to download the game if they can even get it. And that's the kind of customer, you know, consumer insight you're only gonna have if you focus on that territory. Someone just, you know, globalized was like, yep, let's ship this out here and let's ship this out here. But, you know, it needs to be more of a blended approach. I get it from an efficiency standpoint. And certainly from a branding perspective, it does help, because when I started off the LATAM gig, I go into stores and got some of the stuff I saw, I knew it was terrible from a branding perspective to help clean up. But to be successful in any territory, you really need to have someone that understands that particular market, because each market will have its own audience, its own care-abouts, its price point, those kind of things. So I'm not sure if I answered your question or not, but that's the challenge. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Since you mentioned earlier that a lot of scalping has been going on in the black market, and it's this case for PlayStation. So my question is in that context, in a way. So since you know, a few years back, COVID hit us, and there were a lot of there's a lot of effects after that. So what do you feel, has this affected the scalping rate when it comes to PlayStation or Sony, anything?
So I didn't catch the last part of it.
So how has it affected the scalping thing for the you know, PlayStation and the parts of PlayStation? Like, has it increased the rate or decreased or?
I'm sorry, has it increased or decreased?
The rate of scalping after COVID.
Yeah, it's.
Has COVID affected the scalping?
Yeah, it's COVID. And it's not really, I mean, COVID just happens to be around. It's just availability. I mean, it's no different than if, you know, wherever like the talent was playing at Pac-Bell Park, you know, you sell it out, then you're gonna start seeing, you know, prices go from, you know, $90 to $250. That's really COVID independent. That's just kind of supply and demand right there. You know, well, I guess publicly would you frown on it? Actually, we hate it because it really does screw over the customer. I remember when I got my PlayStation 2 way back when. I remember I paid like $150 over asking. That's like had to have the thing, and I won it in a dogfight on eBay when that came out. But I know that's not cool, and it's not a good experience for the customer. But some people just have to have it. You know, off the record. I know it's being recorded. Don't play as anybody. It is. The scalping thing is pretty good for buzz though, because it does create that, you know, I have something that you don't, and that's a very powerful tool. You know, Apple uses that quite a bit, and you don't want to, you know, make your audience and your customer feel badly. but to create that purchase intent and that like, oh man, that'd be so cool if I had had a PlayStation or I had, the latest or iPhone 15 or whatever it is. So scalping, like, yeah, it frowned upon practice. We do hate it. It's a lousy experience for the consumer, but it is good, to have that kind of buzz doesn't hurt either. Okay, I have time for a couple more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Manisha. I'm from the MBA program. And so I have a background in technical stuff. So I just want to understand like how is product management related to marketing?
The product management relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Succinctly, both sides of each other. It's kind of product management. It's also kind of similar to sales. The analogy I was using earlier. It's like salespeople, they do their thing. Marketing people do theirs. Same with product people as well to a degree. It's like now we built it and things should sell itself. It's our product people don't even like sales or marketing people. They're kind of outcasts in a sense. But you really do need to have a close relationship with the product people, because that's where, going back into maybe you asked about the technical side of things, it's from those product people where you learn the differentiators in your product and what will set it apart when you build your marketing strategy and your messaging. It's from them, but you'll say, well, this. Again, use the fan example. It's like, well, what's cool about the product person is like, well, this is 2 fans and they'll go in some mumbo jumbo, and then the marketing person, oh, the PlayStation is not going to run as hot because now you have an extra fan in it. So you get the more technical aspect of the product people, but then as marketing, then you can weave that into a message that will resonate with your audience. I think let's see. Yeah, I get the one or two. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Arjun. I'm from the Internship program.
Hey.
And my question is actually a lot of answers applications, but they all require 4 to 5 years of experience in analytics. How would you suggest a person should go for the job role if he or she has some basic knowledge of programming languages and visualization tools?
Right.
Would that serve as a disadvantage? You just have the knowledge but not the experience that is required?
It depends on the job level you're going for. If you can tell by the job description, really in anything in marketing, it's not just the analytics piece. It's okay to go for something that you may not quite have direct experience for, and that's always a catch-22, especially with early in career types. Like yourself, the whole what's some experience? Well, how do we get experience without the job? That hamster wheel. Even having knowledge of it, if it's an entry-level position, that's an opportunity in your interview to help sell yourself. A lot of times, what it says in the job description, there's no, just like you're not going to have everything that's on the ideal candidate has, and then that list of stuff. Almost nobody has every single thing on there. Consequently, just because it's there, it doesn't mean that someone in HR or a hiring manager isn't going to say, well, they don't have that, but they do have this. And again, going back to, getting the personal touch, as that's really all in marketing, because I think marketing people tend to be a little more talkative and sell themselves a little better. So there really is a meeting in the middle. So don't look at online, at least in the tech space, as like, this is it. If you have one thing off, then you're out of here. Don't look at it that way. But certainly early on, definitely go for the entry level role and see where you fit.
I think Tanishq has a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question was that in 2000 PS2 was launched, and after 7 years PS3, then after 7 years it was PS4, then after 7 years it was PS. Is this like a pattern, or like is it like an inside thing of PlayStation that they have to come with a console like every 7 years? And is it because like Xbox is considered as a competition, so you tend to launch your products too early or like wait for them to launch first, because every time after like Xbox launches PS5 then PS4, boom, boom.
Right. Yeah, I think that the 7-year thing it's a little coincidental. Actually, didn't know. I know your PlayStation. It's a little more coincidental. It's not like, so in other words, that there's no, okay, in 2027, we're going to have PlayStation 6. So there's nothing, at least that I've seen. If I haven't seen it, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you anyway, but I'm telling you, I haven't seen it. PlayStation, Xbox, while they are competitors, they're in the same space. And it's not like, like Jack in the Box. I know Jack in the Box on the brain. It's not like Jack in the Box introducing some new taco, right? It takes like 5 minutes to develop and they get out to the store. I mean, these systems take years to develop, right? So everybody's still aware of it within the market, and there's sort of not exactly an agreement, but these things work in parallel. I'm not saying that the head of Sony is in cahoots with the head of Microsoft, but yeah, I think when these systems get ready, they we kind of time launches in a similar fashion, because again we want more people in the pond. We compete, but Microsoft and Nintendo aren't really our main. They're a competitor. We're competing against Netflix and all the streaming services and all that, and that's something to always keep in your head is who are your competitors, and it's not just the most obvious ones. You're fighting for screen time and disposable income and things like that. So that's always something to keep in mind.
Yes, I guess we are done with our questions. Yeah, and online also we are done with all the questions. But thank you so much for
Seeing y'all. Thank you. That's what I look like.
taking time.
That was a lot of fun. Heck,
Yes,
that flew by. I can talk for another hour.
I hope that everybody knows a bit more about PS now, and we get one of us soon. All of us get-
Advance to the last slide, just real quick. Yeah, hit me up. I've already seen a few of you, at least people on the board here, hit me up. But yeah, please look me up. I will accept it. And I've spoken to dozens of college students, and it's something cool that I like to do. And so wherever I can help with advice, or I know you're on PlayStation focused, but I still know a lot of people and a lot of other stuff. And happy to talk to you offline and that kind of thing. So yeah, please hit me up. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Man,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we going for a group photo or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. What do you think of that corner part?
Yeah.
Rudy, you're the photo. I brought my little tripod, but I don't have a thing. This would be great.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, guys, thank you so much for joining in online, and I hope you all have a great evening. And please get in touch with the GMS over here. Have our next event next Wednesday, same time. So please try to come to on campus, or you can always stay tuned on Zoom. Thank you so much.
Next week will be the immigration expert. So take care.
Bye.
Oh, sure.
If you keep an eye on your, I think we're requested.